Hello there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics and Across, the greatest YouTubers you have never heard of. And thank you for joining us for another Let's Talk Comics. And I am here along with a very special guest today, Mr. Brandon Starocci, joining us, the creator and one of the writers on the Avalon series that is launched on Kickstarter with its 6th issue. Brandon, thank you so much for coming and joining us on the show today. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you, and massive shout out and thank you as well for reaching out to us. You were the one that reached out to us about getting Avalon checked out and coming on the show and stuff, which I greatly appreciate you reaching out to us, because I have now, at the time of everyone watching this on YouTube, our reviews dropped for issues 1 to 5, and it was an absolute pleasure to read through Avalon. It was a really intriguing series, so thank you for taking the time to actually send it out to us to be able to check it out.
No, I'm really glad to have found you and your show too. You know, you guys have really cool things going on. From the stuff I was looking on social media, and for you to just accept the offer alone is a huge deal for us. You know, we thank you for it as well, and just to kind of read it, give your thoughts on it, and of course to be on this show as well. You know, we really appreciate the time.
Absolutely, of course. I'll be honest. Like, I had no idea what Avalon was when you sent it out to us. When you first reached out to us, I hadn't heard of the series. And as soon as I got the kind of like elevator pitch of it, when you were like, "Oh yeah, this is what the series is like," I'm a sucker for a zombie story. I'm not going to lie. I'm an absolute sucker for zombie apocalypse stuff. I'm one of those people. I'm one of the people that keep them in business. Like,
Yeah.
all that zombie
No,
media that's out there right now, yep, I'm one of them. I 100% hands up. That's me. So I was like, yeah, I need to check this out and see what it's like.
yeah. I'm the same exact way. You know, obviously I'm a huge fan of the genre. I mean, hence why we're making a zombie comic. But and kind of just zombie in general, and knowing that there's some corny stuff out there for zombie, the zombie genre, but just really loving the all the stuff that it could bring, all the potential zombies could bring too. I'm a sucker for it too.
No, absolutely. And I think that's the thing as well, there's so much about the zombie genre. There's so much out there. Like, it's been one of those things. It has been done for decades. It has been done in movies and TV shows, even in comic books. Obviously, like The Walking Dead is the first thing that comes to mind, is like one of the premier zombie title and like one of the biggest indie titles. And what let's go into what started all of this then. Like, how did you get into comics? What was your interest in starting into comics, and why did you decide, like, hey, let's make a zombie comic? What was the mindset behind all of that?
Yeah, actually, it's kind of like a little bit different deal here. I wasn't really ever a comic person growing up. I never was like invested in comics like I feel like I wish I was back then. I did read the Walking Dead comics. That was probably one of my first kind of titles that I really read through. I did read a lot of like different Batman titles as well, nothing very specific. But again, not really a comic person. I had this idea way back then in like 2014 when I was a senior in high school. Have a general understanding of what I wanted to do because I was a huge fan of the zombie genre. And then was going to actually make this a movie. Had no skill or understanding of how to do that whatsoever, so it kind of got put to rest there. A couple years later, I meet Alan Dingfelder, which is the co-writer for season one, and we kind of put this together, made Avalon today. All we kind of really broke it down and figured out the world, the characters, the infection that these zombies are, and all that. Really started grinding that out, and then 2022, or around that time frame, we're going to make it a novel too. And then I'm not a big reader. I don't like reading a lot of books or a lot of words on page. I'd rather not. But I had a Walking Dead comic on my desk, and we were kind of figuring out this story. So I texted Alan, "Why don't we just make this a comic book?" And he agreed. He loved the idea, so we kind of just collaborated on how we wanted to see it in a comic fashion, and here we are today.
Nice. That's a
Yeah.
really interesting
So
way to get to it being a comic. That's really interesting, getting into basically making a comic book when it's like you've not really got a background in comics, not really been a big comic book reader, comic book fan, and then deciding, hey, let's make a comic. Like, because as we were talking about before we came on air there, it's like, it's not an easy thing to make a comic book. It's a really difficult process. It's, it's a really difficult thing to get into. Like you were saying as well, I wanted to kind of just hit on as well. You're saying like you're not a big reader and stuff. You're going to make it a novel, and that's not a big thing. It's like I know that's something that's probably like I'll be honest. Like if you put Avalon into a novel series, I probably would never have read it. To be
Yeah,
honest,
I think it's hard, and I can't speak for everybody, but even a zombie apocalypse kind of novel, anyways. I'm sure there's stuff out there that's actually really good.
yeah,
That never read, but again, that's just me. But now, when you talk about it in the sense that you just brought it up, I'm one of those people who are out of that. So it's like you don't have me because I would rather visualize it, see it. And that's
yeah.
why I like movies. I'm a movie person. So
Well, I was going
the
to say like
comic.
I've because I've personally I've got ADHD, and I'm like to sit
Same
down
here.
and read a novel is a painful experience. Like to actually sit down and try and take the words in and try and like process it.
Yeah,
Like my brain doesn't do it. My wife is a reader and she can like fly through a book within an evening. Like
same.
it's insane how quickly she reads. And I'm
It,
like,
it,
my brain doesn't let me do that. So like if you brought out Avalon as a novel, there is no chance in the world I'd have picked it up because I would never have gotten through it and just
it, I agree.
straight
I
up
think
and
it's
up,
a
you know?
harder it's a harder thing to sell. I'm a big visual person. You are too, as you mentioned, and
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it just helps because it's like, and this is one of the main reasons I think it helps is because Demetrius the artist, but I think it helps too is because I like seeing things through like a movie lens and. Kind of touching on Demetrius and his art style, he does a very very good job of the layouts of the panels. It really starts to look like a camera kind of going through scenes and all that stuff through the panel layouts. But it really helps me get into it. It really helps me kind of immerse myself in the world, even as the writer, and writing things out in the future as well. When I see the past stuff that Demetrius is capable of doing, it's a very very cool thing that I really can find myself immersing myself in the characters and in the world that is created here as well.
Well, let's actually touch on that then as well, because you mentioned him now as well, Demetrius, who is the artist on this book, and which, by the way, like don't want to undersell this guy. Like he's not just the artist. It's like the book is mostly in black and white, but what color there is, he does color for the book, and he does lettering from the book.
He does it all. Everything you see
Like
visually is all him.
that's insane. Like for
Yeah.
having one person responsible for all of those things when usually there's a separate person for each when you're making a comic, that's insanity. That he's taken that all on himself. And like I said, there's not even that much color. Like most of the color is like obviously the blood is red throughout the book, except for like the last page and stuff like that. Which I'm going to say, my review covers it as well. Like I think honestly, it being in black and white almost like undersells Demetrius a little bit because when you see the color pages that he can do a phenomenal job coloring as well. Like the guys, how did you find
Yeah.
him? Like, because obviously you decided like let's try this as a comic book. The next stage is well, we need someone to do the visuals and the art for it. How did that
Yeah.
process come about?
Yeah. So originally, when we were figuring this whole deal out, Alan and I, when we were talking about how we wanted to see this art and all that stuff too, me being a huge fan of the Walking Dead comic and the show, but the comic more specifically in this category, I liked the black and white.
Mm,
Now, with that being said as well, I like for a zombie comic, I would rather see more. I'd rather see the blood and I'd rather see the gore. You know what I mean? It's a zombie kind of story, so that stuff is needs to happen in my opinion.
yeah,
So I was like, okay, black, white, and blood. So we move on. We're looking for somebody on Instagram. We're looking under the hashtag comic book artist, finding styles that we see, that we enjoyed, that thought fit our story. So we would kind of figure this out. Business stuff aside, we ended up finding Demetrius. Messaged Demetrius immediately. I gave him the synopsis of what we're kind of doing. He loved it right away. He was a go-getter, in my opinion. I knew he was going to be the guy right away. He sent a concept page immediately of what his vision is and his style as well, because we're both very young at this, and this is his first kind of published comic as well. So he's still at the time finding his style. But what he sent us was perfect in our eyes, and it really worked. The black and white. Obviously, we knew we wanted the black, white, and blood then as well. So we told him to do it in that kind of style, and he did it, and we loved it. And then we kind of just that was it. He's part of the team now. At this point in this journey, it's as much his baby as it is my baby too. So it's just like it's nice having an artist that's not just doing it for a paycheck. That he truly loves this series. He loves this the characters, all that stuff, and he expresses that very often too. So it reassures me as like the creator and the writer wants to be here and loves the story and wants, you know what I mean? It's not just about the money.
Yeah, and that's it. It's like, I think that can be a hard thing to do. It's like, it's one thing when you've got somebody who's in the creative seat along with you creating a comic, but to basically come in as the writer who's got the concepts and to go, okay, well, we need to go find an artist now and find someone who's doing the style that you like, doing something that you enjoy, but also at the very least develops the passion for it.
Yeah.
Develops the passion for, like, this is my baby now as well, because when you're creating a comic, it's a marriage of writing and art at the very least, let alone all the other stuff that goes into it. So it's like you can't have one without the other when it comes to a comic. Not really.
Right, 100%. And I think obviously the time frame that Demetrius had to develop and really put into this and really come into his own, with his style, the way he draws the story out is almost like a story in itself. There's so many hidden details. There's so many little Easter eggs. There's so many little symbolism things that we both agree on and both really enjoy, and projects that we read and watch as well. And we put those into our own kind of comic here. And it just really being on the same page now, having, the relationship, and knowing each other for what, 3, almost 4 years at this point. It's been such an awesome journey, and really, again, at this point, we're very parallel with what we want. We just know what each other kind of are feeling and what we want with the story. And again, we're just really dedicated to this story and moving it forward.
No, absolutely, and I will absolutely commend both of you, because one thing that I wanted to come across as completely as a compliment, because I definitely mean it like this. You can tell in the first issue that this is a first project for you guys. You can tell that this is the first foray into like a published comic for both of you, from the writing and the art. Reading all 5 of the first issues back to back to back to back to back, it's insane how much it improves. Like, even just from issue 1, finishing issue 1 and clicking the PDF for issue 2 and opening it, first thing is the art style is so much sharper and so much more tweaked, and I'm like, it's a different comic.
Yeah, or yeah, right, like a different artist too, and I've heard people say that.
And then even the writing as well. The writing is like, okay, some of the writing in the first bit, some of it's a little bit choppy and stuff, and it's like, if it's your first issue, of course it is. But like, even as you get into the second and third, the writing gets so much tighter, and like, you can see the literal progression of you guys creating Avalon. And not that it was like desperately awful to begin with, but you can see it tightening and you can see it progressing and getting better, and you guys becoming more comfortable with this world and more comfortable with these characters, and more comfortable in your position as creators. It's like, and it's really cool to see, having the chance to like just like get all caught up in one go. It's like, I wouldn't have necessarily seen that, like getting it as the issues were coming out, but getting to see that progression was a really amazing thing. Like, it's insane. Like, my eye, like we said, like, you and I are both very visual people, but seeing that art style just ramp up as soon as I started reading issue 2 it's nuts. Like, I can't speak apparently. I went through it again because I was pulling images for like the review, and to pull images from issue 1 and then to go to issue 2 and pull images from that, I'm like, it just hits again. Like, it's actually insane how good he got between those issues.
And it's funny. There's a funny story with that too. I remember when he completed issue 1, and he was like, "Hey, I've been working on a style. I think I think this is it. I think this is my kind of style and all that stuff too." And me being a very consistent person, and I was like, I almost was like, I don't know, man. I don't want to. I'd rather keep it the way we have it, all that stuff, and kind of we're going back and forth a little bit. I was like, okay, let me just see. Send me what you got. Send me a penciling of what you're kind of thinking and all that stuff too. And he sent me a page. I can't remember exactly what page it was for issue two, but I remember it just immediately. I loved it. Yeah, I remember Alan and I both were. Alan and I are both consistent people, so we're both looking at it. We're like man, like this, it took a huge jump. Again, not taking anything away from his issue one, but like this is the style. Like this is it. Like this is what we're looking at and looking for, and this is what it was. And I remember kind of going through that with Alan, and then I was like, yep, we're just gonna roll with it. Love it. Love what you're doing. And then it just at each issue you could even tell. I mean, he has a style still, but just like it just he finds new ways of showing and putting out the panel layouts and really bringing you into certain scenes and feel like so you could feel those scenes too. So it was just a nice. I'm glad we're here now with this style. It's a very unique style. It's a lot of reminders of Todd McFarlane in some ways, but having his own kind of touch to it. It's just a beautiful thing, especially in the zombie genre. I feel like since I've been really getting into comics after making this comic, I haven't really seen something like it yet. And
No, it's definitely a very
yeah,
unique style. It's definitely a
yeah,
very like that's the one thing I can definitely say for Avalon. It doesn't look like anything that I'm currently like seeing out on the market right now. It's definitely got its own unique look to it. And that's definitely to its benefit because you want stuff to be you want it to stand out. You want it
yes,
to stand out and be out there and kind of like not necessarily like comparisons are good to a certain degree because you want someone to compare it to something in a good
yeah.
light, but you don't want it to always be seen in that light. Like,
And that's sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but
no,
that's a
you're good,
really
you're good.
important thing I like bringing up a lot, and a lot of conversations, because I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. Okay, I'm a huge zombie fan for that matter. Now, with that being said, and this is talking about my category, not even the art category, but with me being a huge Walking Dead fan, I don't want to be another Walking Dead. I don't want Avalon to be another Walking Dead. I want Avalon to be
Yeah.
Avalon. I respect, I love The Walking Dead as a fan. That's where I'm leaving it. You know what I mean? I don't want to
Yeah.
take that and kind of apply it into Avalon. I want Avalon to be its own telling, its own zombie story, its own title. I would like it to be compared on like the greatness level of it. Like, okay, look, this is the zombie kind of juggernaut, all that stuff, but never compared into like a story element or anything like that. So that's just one thing, and it goes to kind of and what we're talking about too, the art. I like, you're obviously gonna have similarities to the art or even the genre for that matter as well. But as long as it's different enough and unique enough in its own way and its own title, it's very important to all of us, and we've all really had these conversations about these kind of deals too.
No, absolutely. And I think that's it as well. Whenever anybody thinks of comics and zombies, you think The Walking Dead. Like,
Of
of
course.
course they do. It had like nearly
Yeah.
200 issues. It
Yeah.
span off into a TV show, which span off into like three other TV shows now, or whatever it's at. I don't even know. We've lost track of it at this point. It's like it's a number one, and you would be hard pressed to topple it at this point.
Right. Right.
It's like, but just because that's a zombie story that's at the top doesn't mean there's not room for other zombie stories. But even at that, was there any sort of intimidation for the prospect of, hey, we're doing a zombie comic, and it's like the zombie comic that's kind of above all zombie comics is already out there? Is like, did it put any pressure? Because without a doubt, people are going to naturally connect it to and compare it to The Walking Dead.
So I don't look at it in like a pressure kind of standpoint there. I mean like it's definitely going to be compared. It's a zombie story. You could compare this Avalon to almost anything zombie related. You know what I mean? Zombies have, it's just like if you're comparing a romance movie with a romance movie.
Yeah.
The way I look at zombies is it's a genre. Are you watching action? Are you watching romance? Are you watching a horror film? Are you watching a zombie film? So it's just like that's the way I compare zombies. Now, with that being said, too, is there's no like fear or like anything like that. It's just I'm a huge fan of the genre. I have a story to tell in this genre that I've been thinking about for many years now, and again, it stems from a simple question that I like to bring up a lot too is how would I survive in a zombie apocalypse? So I have two brothers myself. So the story's centered around three brothers, and it's
Hmm.
it's really bringing it as close as I can to me, and obviously dramatizing some of the story elements of the characters. But it's really just making it a raw reality of this kind of genre in this world, this apocalypse, and letting these characters feel very relatable and real feeling. The conversations are going to feel very real. I don't want the text to feel like you're reading a book. I want it to feel like somebody's talking. You know what I mean? I don't want it to kind of feel like you're reading, like I said, like you're reading like a paragraph. I want it to feel like just banter, just like how we're having right now, just a conversation. But that's really the intent for this story too with Avalon too. But it's respecting The Walking Dead, it's respecting other comics and zombie projects that have been done there, and just kind of being a fan of it and kind of applying what we love about the genre into ours and making our own story.
Yeah, no, I can definitely respect that. I can definitely like, and I like the comparison you said. Is like it's a genre. It's like one romance story or you watch one romance movie. It's like it doesn't mean it's the same as another romance movie. Obviously, there's similar beats to it. There's similar story points to it, but it's like it's not the same. Zombies are a genre unto themselves at this point, which is a great example because you can watch something like Dawn of the Dead, standard zombie apocalypse set up in a mall, chaos ensues. But then you can go and watch something like Shaun of the Dead, which is a zombie
Yeah,
apocalypse, but it's a comedy and it's completely different. And
yeah,
then you can watch
right.
something like Warm Bodies, which is like this whole zombie romance story, which is completely different. It's like you're right, it
Right.
is. It's a genre unto itself at this point.
Agreed, and I think that's the deal though too, is like there's more to a zombie story than just simply zombies and surviving, and that's kind of like that's like the fine lining kind of deal. Like that's what you're in search of when you're watching a zombie story. Is like okay, what am I looking for? Am I looking for a comedy aspect of it? Am I looking just for an exciting Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder film where it's just like chaos and just real quick and bang bang? Or am I looking for more of a drama kind of story? Am I looking for more raw? You know what I mean? Like so, it's really those inner lines in the story rather than okay, I'm watching a zombie movie because of survival and zombies. I mean, I guess you could be as simple as that, but there's always more. I feel like people are looking at a zombie story that set other zombie stories apart from others too. So, I think that's the true search when you're looking at where you're talking about zombies as well. But yeah,
No, absolutely. I do kind of want to circle back. You had mentioned because we've not really talked about it yet. Is like the inspiration and the influence and where the idea came for Avalon. And one of the things that you mentioned was the influences that you've got two brothers yourself. And
yeah,
obviously the first 5 issues that we've seen so far and issue 6 coming up is like it's based around the Castle family, and very quickly though, like we realise that it's not so much the Castle family as much as it is the three brothers. It's
yeah.
the three brothers. It's Andy, Ty, and Mason. You can see it like very quickly as you go through the first few issues. Like it's very quickly becoming their story, and
Right.
it's like this is very much a setup for that. It looks like in the first season of it, but it's very much you can start to tell by like issue 3 and 4. You're like, yeah, this is going to be their story more than anything.
100%. And one thing that we really tried pitching for in the first first six issues for that matter, as well as again, this is an average dysfunctional family, that everybody can relate to. Everybody has some sort of dysfunctionality in their family, one way or another. But it's really just again like having set up slowly their past issues that before this apocalypse even starts, and then bang, the apocalypse starts. Now you have to put the past aside for a moment so we can survive, and then as more downtime starts to accrue coming up, now the stories you're going to see some of this stuff unfold, the drama unfold, and really start to see where this story is going. Kind of like you're saying, we're hinting at the fact that this is the brother storyline,
Mm-hmm.
again, like, and there's no specific brother we're following, and that's why for the first six issues here, the main pitch to this as well is there's no main protagonist. This is the Castle family is the main protagonist, and we're really kind of articulating all these characters in different ways and showing the depth of all the characters that you meet as and the reader as the reader. And there's a lot to be told, there's a lot to be known in the future as well. But yeah, the three brothers are going to be a very very crucial part to the story. And it again, like it's keeping stuff as close to me as possible, especially being a new writer and trying to figure out the writing aspect of things. I wanted to keep all the storytelling stuff close to me. Again, adding more drama elements, adding more craziness to it as well. It's not, adding more physical and mental kind of disabilities and stuff like that to this family. But it's definitely close to me. From loved ones, brother, friends, all that stuff. I like to kind of put all my life into the story that I kind of know and see from my side.
Yeah, and you can definitely see that coming through. It's definitely the family or the driving force behind this book, which is something that's definitely something that is an echo from The Walking Dead, but I think it's a good thing because it's something a lot of things like this should echo. Is like, the zombie apocalypse is the setting. The story should focus on the family and it should focus on the people and the characters and give you a reason to invest in them. And that's definitely something that Avalon does. It gives you really good characters to invest in, and I think like getting through this first season is like, I think at the very least people should give the whole first season a chance, because it is a very slow burn story to get to know the characters and stuff. And I started realizing it only really hit me as I was writing my review on it and I started putting it together as I got to issue 5 again. I was like, this is one night.
Yeah, yeah,
This has all happened in one night. Like, it feels like it's taken forever as you go through the story and so much happens and you're like, we've not even got to morning yet. From like
yeah.
from the birthday dinner that was happening and the patrol that Andy and Agent and Officer Miller were on, like from issue 1, like it's the same night. We've not even got past that, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And so it's a very slow burn for this story to get to where it is, but it allows you to experience the characters and experience exactly what they're going through and just how harrowing this first night of the zombie apocalypse is.
I'm glad you said it like that too, because this is actually something when Alan and I were first in the talks and figuring out what we wanted to do, that this was something we were actually going to brush over, which is scary, now, or because the original script, and this is what's going to be crazy. The original script had issues 1 through 3 in one script for first issue. I mean, that is.
Oh
So all
wow.
that stuff was condensed into one script, and we were like, "Wow, this doesn't feel right. This feels off." We were going through it again, and then we did what we did now that everybody's reading now. And we're very happy with it. Obviously now, so obviously it's out now, and we're happy about it and happy where we're at too. But we're actually very, very excited. Not to get ahead of myself here, but we're very excited for season 3. The season 3. I mean, obviously, we're just finishing season 1. We're finishing the writing of season 2, and season three's concept is very, very exciting, and is going to separate this zombie story from other zombie stories. But I think when we sat down and we were figuring this whole thing out, the best thing that we thought was to really flesh out the night of. I think it's a very fun thing. When I watch movies myself, zombie movies that is, and I always like the first night thing, the chaos, the craziness. And I think when we kind of were chatting and figuring this out, like, well, let's really flesh this night out. Let's really flesh out the chaos, like you said, like really feel what the characters are feeling, give the readers time to kind of understand where they're at mentally and all that too. And then season 2 obviously coming up in the future too is, but there's just this was something that we were actually going to brush over, but we decided to really let it sink in, for the characters and for the readers experience this kind of whole craziness going on, in the first 6 issues here.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't brush over it, and I'm glad you let it just kind of just sit and be experienced is probably the best way to put it. Because like
Yeah,
when that hit me, like I don't know what it was. It added another level to everything. Of like, holy crap, this is the same night. Because you've gone through a lot. Because the first 2 issues are like the whole first issue is basically almost like not really anything happens till the end. It's very much a setup issue, as most
yeah,
the first issues are. They are very much just a here's the setup, here's the story, here's where we're going. Issue 2 starts to get into it, and then even the split you get from issues 3 and 4, where it's like, hey, this issue we're focusing on the police officers, this issue we're focusing on the family, and it's like so many different things happen from both these narratives as well. and it just kind of sinks in of like, oh my goodness, they're still, this is just hitting. Like they were at a birthday dinner a couple of hours ago, and
Yeah.
from there they've been attacked by infected. Like they've rushed out of the restaurant to go to a friend's house. They were in a car crash that happens. No major spoilers because I think it was like 3 issues ago at this point. But like the dad getting killed in that and stuff, and then the police officers are going to their a wellness check that ends up being an attack as this old woman's going nuts, and then they're getting pinned down in there and trying to escape the place and go check on their family. Like so much happens, and it's absolutely insane. I think the last time I fully experienced that feeling of it realizing how little time had passed in a story, legitimately, and I mean it with all the compliment, comparing it to it was when I watched 24. Like the TV series 24 with Keith Sutherland. Because the whole season happens within a day, every hour of the episode is that. And so you would get like 15 episodes in and realize it's not even been a full day and all this crap has happened to him. And I would have that experience watching that show, and it was like, oh my goodness, how has all this happened and it's not even been a day yet? Or like,
And it
that's the
oh,
kind of experience I had reading it when it hit me rereading issue 5 was like, it's the same night. This has all been happening in one night. This is insane. Like everything's just gone to hell this one night. And I mean it with all the best compliments in the world for it, because like it really did hit on another level when that feeling hit me.
sure. No, I appreciate that 100%. And again, like that was the goal for this as well, is really let it sink in, really allow readers to kind of take in the chaos that's happening on this first night, because it's so like boom, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, what's important too is this story is being told to the family. As the reader, you're only going to know as much as the family knows, and that's a very important thing going forward as well. And a funny thing with you saying all like the 5 issues, I think you read them almost back to back, right?
Yeah, I pretty much read them all in like one go essentially. Like
So it's funny because this obviously it's been 2 years since the first published issue, so it's just like funny to kind of like think like the 2 year span of people reading it, and then going like, oh wow, this is I've been reading this for 2 years, and this has only been one night in the apocalypse in Avalon too. So it's just like
yeah, I can't
it's
imagine
funny to think
people
of
that
it
have been
that way.
like 2 years into this story and 2 years into
Yeah,
reading and backing this, and for them to get a revelation of kind of like, oh my goodness, it's not even tomorrow yet. We're not even in the next day. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
that's crazy. But I think honestly, it's definitely to the story's aid. I think it's to its benefit
I
because
appreciate that, and I agree. I agree. Just from being a fan in general of the genre, and just a fan of these characters at this point too. Just writing these characters, I agree. I agree with you there too. But
yeah, absolutely. To kind of move on a little bit, one thing I definitely wanted to talk about, and as people can see on the screen, we have the Kickstarter link like right below us on screen right now. Um, you guys are obviously launching issue 6, or it has launched
yes.
already, and not only that, at the time of recording this, it has been fully funded on Kickstarter, which is insanity because when we booked this interview, it was like, oh yeah, you've got it on Kickstarter, we'll help promote it and get it where it's going and all this, and it's like, it's fully funded. It's like, dang, we're a week late.
Yeah.
But first of all, congratulations on getting it fully
Thank you.
funded. We
Thank you.
were we were talking just before we started recording, like how difficult that is in a very saturated market of Kickstarter comics to get your comic out there and also get it fully funded. And it's just phenomenal to see that it's happened already, and we're not even at the end goal yet of the last day. And it's phenomenal. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. And to speak a little bit, having being on Kickstarter, this is our fifth project on Kickstarter, funded every single time, and that's due to everybody who's been supporting us from the beginning. Which thanks to all those people. They're getting Avalon out faster than it would be. And this is something I like to say all the time too: is Avalon will always come out. This is just like a love of mine. It's a hobby of mine. This is always going to be something that comes out. Everybody else just dictates the speed of it. When we do these Kickstarters, and obviously they're getting their copies and all that. They're the reason it's out today, and all thanks and praise goes to everybody who supported our Kickstarters now and in the past. But yeah.
No, absolutely, and I think that's it. It's commended. You've obviously cultivated a very loyal reader base and loyal fans and people that want to see Avalon coming out. And it's like it's phenomenal that they've backed it so much that wanting to see this happen, that they've flocked to Kickstarter multiple times now to help support this comic coming out. And that was something I wanted to ask as well with it. Why choose to go with Kickstarter for it? You know, one of the things we talked about before we came on air was it's so rare, especially for a self-published small, creator that's really not got a basis in comics at all, no name in comics or anything like that, to try a project on there and have it be successful is a rarity. Like, you are 100% a rare thing on that platform. There's so many that don't get funded. What was the decision to go to Kickstarter? Was there any other options considered? Did you consider going to a publisher? Did you consider doing anything like that? And what made the choice go to Kickstarter and choose to take a fairly risky option?
Yeah, of course. So the publisher route was not an option at the time. It's so when Alan and I were first kind of discussing what we wanted to do, we the first conversation before even Avalon, for that matter, was because he was in entertainment as well. He was in a band, before, back then when I was actually thinking of the idea. We're different ages, but he was in a band back in 2014 time frame. And that stopped. And then, like I said, we a couple years later, we met each other, same job. We started figuring out we wanted to do entertainment. I love creating things. He likes creating things. But the first goal was 1282, which 1282 is what you'll see on the front of our comics is our own production, our own kind of publisher, and all that stuff too. We're kind of uplifting that along with all of our other projects.
Yeah, I was
And
going to
what
ask with 1282, is there what's the reasoning behind the name? Is there a reason for it? Does it represent something? Like, because 1282, especially when it's just Avalon that you're putting out there, is a very intriguing, like, I wonder if there's a story behind that or if it's just a, that sounds cool sort of
Yeah,
thing.
no, it's funny. Again, at the same job, 1282 kind of came up. We're trying to figure out, like, obviously the first thing was we want to have our own business, we want to be our own bosses in this entertainment kind of thing. Because when he was in the band, he was subjected to being like almost told like how to like make music, and it was like he wanted to do it his way. So we're here now figuring out this production. So when we were figuring this out at first, we were only making $12.82 an hour, and we were at like a low point. It was hard to live day to day with that hourly rate, and we were dreaming then, obviously, too, about trying to be creators and all that stuff too. And then we came up like, okay. And then 1282 just rolled off the tongue. It sounded very cool, and we're like, okay, yeah, that's it. That's just like, because he was saying earlier too. He's like, we'll know when we know. It'll just feel right. It'll sound right. And when we said that, it just that was it.
I
Um,
love it. That
yeah,
is phenomenal. That has got to be the most fantastic story I've heard for the naming of a company. I absolutely adore it. That's amazing.
it's something to keep us kind of honest, and and bring us back to the good old days, I guess, even when we were just kind of just chatting about things, and almost made us feel like kids again, you know what I mean, as adults. So when you're adulting hard, and everything seems hard, and you start doing this stuff too, so it just brings us back into that mentality. But with that being said as well, that was the goal, to have our own production, be our own boss. So the publisher wasn't an option then. So then when we came up with Avalon, that was the next step. We had, we're doing the artwork, and then halfway through it, we're trying to figure out like, okay, how are we publishing this? How are we doing this? And then Alan remembered Kickstarter. Kickstarter wasn't as big as it was when he knew it back. I don't even know how long Kickstarter's been around, but he's like, there's this thing called Kickstarter. Let's look into it, see how much it's evolved over the years. And because I didn't know anything, I'm brand new to all this. I'm learning everything as I go along, and we start looking into it. We start kind of just going into it, looking at other people's projects, seeing how big it is, and it did get bigger. And we're just starting to figure out the best way of telling this and selling this, and we ended up just sticking with Kickstarter. It just flowed. It just seemed easy to us in the beginning, and we're used to it now, and we're here now. But
Nice. That's awesome. And that's it.
Yeah, it's
Like
the long version.
sometimes it can be no, sometimes it can be something like that though, like, wanting to be your own bosses and not wanting to be subject to it. And I think there's something honorable in that as well, because like it depends what you want, what's best for you. It's like we've talked with other creators who have said that, like, going through a publisher is the better option. It's like it doesn't matter if we keep the IP or stuff like that as long as the stuff gets made. And it's like, but both are very valid options. Both are valid. It's
Yeah.
like if you're wanting to create content, like there's multiple routes to get to something. And going through Kickstarter is a very commendable one, because it's putting a lot of trust and faith that you've got supporters who want to see the same vision as you, and obviously you do. You've got a great fan base, and it's like, how much have you seen like the support for Avalon grow across the, like you said, the last 2 years? I mean, obviously it's grown
Tremendously.
quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been an amazing thing to kind of sit back and watch too. And obviously, when we meet people at events, we meet people online, when we have shows like this, we meet, you helping us kind of reach out to a wider audience, and people reach out, like I said, talking to us. It's always fun to talk to people and kind of really have people hear what they have to say about the story too. That's always been an awesome kind of thing to kind of hear. And for them to just be true fans to it, true supporters to it, it's such an amazing deal. And to watch it grow over time as well. It's just been an awesome kind of thing. And obviously one of our big things is community. The story's about family, so we want to keep this kind of like a family kind of feel to it as well, and keep it like a very tight knit community. And we have groups on just generate questions. In real life, and then in the Avalon kind of world as well, just to kind of get everybody kind of hyped up with zombie stuff in general. But it's just fun kind of going back and forth with new people, our fans that have been around for a while, or supporters that have been around for a while as well too. But it's always fun watching it kind of grow.
No, that's awesome, and I'm glad that you guys are getting the support, and I'm glad that it has been growing, even just gradually, little by little, and to see
Yeah,
it
yeah.
growing to the point it is absolutely phenomenal. It's definitely well deserved and well loved.
100%. And that's one of our biggest deals too, is that we don't want to force anybody to love it, because we understand zombies are niche, comics are niche. Now when you put those two niche things together, it's even more niche. You know what I mean? So a lot of that too.
Yeah,
But we want people who want to be here. I don't want to force anybody into it. And that's where I feel like that we can confidently say though too, the people that are here want to be here. And that's the best part about it as well. They want to support, they want to read it. That's what we want. We want readers, we want people who truly support and care about the project, and care what happens and all that, and is excited for it too. But that's been a fun thing watching the slow up and up with that too. But it's been awesome.
I think that's great though, that you kind of know that you want, like, this is our nation, we're sticking to it. We're fully aware we're not going to appeal to everybody. Comic is such a small thing, and zombies like not the biggest genre in the world, and you put those together. I think it's really cool because I've read it on like Image Comics' website. When you go to like their submissions thing for creators and you're like pitching your comic to them, there's a section when it basically asks you that. It's like, so who's your audience? And in brackets it says, don't say everybody. No, it's impossible for every
It's
comic
not
to be for
true. Yeah,
everybody. It's like
yeah,
basically, don't say it's for everyone, because it's not. There's very few comics that can be for everyone, because everyone's got different tastes and different likes and different interests, and there's no comic that's going to
right.
appeal to everyone. So I think it's a really great thing that right from the get go you've thought, no, this is our genre. This is what we're doing. If you're in for a zombie apocalypse story, fantastic. If you're not, that's cool. Have fun.
Well, that's just it though too, and I'm a full believer, and if anybody is a little bit into zombies, they'll enjoy Avalon. I'm not saying everybody's gonna love it, but I'm telling you, if you like zombies, you'll enjoy Avalon. But I think it's better to know that we're not gonna get flooded gates from people kind of be like, oh, Avalon, Avalon, Avalon. But again, because they're zombies, not a lot of people like zombies. Not, I mean, some people are sick of zombies now. There's been a lot of zombies lately, so it's really trying to find that perfect balance to kind of sell it too, and let people that know that obviously, like, okay, if you're flat out sick with zombies, I'm not gonna bug you with it. But if you're like on the fence with it, give it a shot. You know what I mean? Because there's more to Avalon than just the zombies. Zombies are almost secondary in our story, and really kind of showcasing the family and really showcasing again the mental health and the physical health that and ongoing issues that people deal with on a day-to-day basis, and these characters are going to be dealing with as well. But that's truly the story, and obviously the dysfunctional past that'll be coming up in later seasons here too. But more so all that stuff, and really trying to ground this story in the characters, the world, and the infection, the zombies for that matter as well, and as much reality as we can get away with.
No, absolutely. Hey there, Comic Clan. Did you know that Comics in the Cross are also on Patreon as well? For as little as just $2 a month, you can get access to all of our content from YouTube early before it drops here. That includes reviews for our comic books, tabletop gaming and video game channels, as well as the Indie Comic Book Club and our Let's Talk Comic interview show. Also, there is exclusive content available just to our Patreon subscribers. That includes watch-alongs, interviews, and a lot of behind-the-scenes information and goings-on in Comics in the Cross. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in checking out, then please go and check out the link for patreon.com/comicsinthecross. And if you do choose to support us and partner with us, then we are super grateful for that. And thank you so much for your kind and generous support. But for now, that's all from me. Let's head on back into your video. I think it's just absolutely awesome. Like I've been thoroughly taken into this world. I think it's a really just phenomenal world that you've created. And like I'm very much invested in these characters now. I'm very much invested in the Castle family and the struggles that they're going through. And I think you've managed to create a really great little zombie story that's out there. And it's like you said, like there's so many people out there now. It's like zombies are so oversaturated and they're sick of them. And I'm like, I can't help it. I like a good zombie story.
Yeah.
It's like
As long as it's a good one or at least decent, I'm there. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
tell a good story with it, and I'm like, yep, I'm going to at least check it out and see what it's all about. You
Right,
know,
right. Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna maybe not fall in love with it, but like I'll buy it, I'll read it, or
I'll
even
give it a
watch it for
go.
that matter. I'll give it a yeah, right. And if you love it, you love it. No harm, no foul.
Yeah, and it's like, speaking of the different zombies types out there, that was something I wanted to ask, and it's just kind of came back to me there. Especially with your zombie story, like, what was the design intent behind creating your zombies? Because these aren't your typical undead sort of zombies. They look a lot more like me and my friend that I used to hang out with described them kind of like more like the 28 Days Later sort of zombies, like the fast moving, crazy, psychotic runner zombie sort of style. Like we always kind of describe it like that. Like these are very much a lot more, they're going to chase, they're going to push, they're like clawing their eyes out. Some of the first like colouring you really get to see in the comic is like the scratched faces and the scratched eyes. And what was the design intent behind them, and what was kind of like your idea for the zombies or the infected in this story? Because it's not your typical standard zombies.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a big fan of again, especially with this story, it's grounding it in reality, and with that as well, like I was mentioning a little bit as well, as we were really doing our research, okay? So we were looking up infections, viruses, parasites, and all that stuff, and what's possible and what can be possible. And then obviously adding some fiction to it as well. As we obviously, with a zombie story, you can't get away, everything can't be real. Um, Zombies aren't real, So,
Yeah.
but with that as well, we wanted to ground it in as much reality as possible. So when we were looking all this stuff up, and figuring out how we wanted to do our zombies. And I'm not going to say too much because it's actually part of the story coming up.
Mm.
But there was that was the point of doing it a little bit different was number one to be different. Number two to ground it in some sort of reality. When we started figuring out some of the stuff that we liked, some of the things that we were researching and finding, we liked this stuff, and we were kind of messing with different things and trying to not spoil stuff. But you'll see all this stuff in due time as well.
No,
But
absolutely, absolutely. Don't want any spoilers for anything
yeah,
that's coming up. If that's going to get covered, then I'm more
yeah,
than happy to wait for it. But yeah,
it's definitely a fun deal. Obviously with the scratching, the eye scratching was a very fun thing to show a visual difference to the audience as well. And again, the scratching has something to do with the infection as well. So we show these little things, these little ticks that the zombies do. that will almost give it away if you kind of just do research. Like it's there. We're big fans of hiding things in plain sight throughout the story. There's been actually a lot of things in the 5 issues that are out right now that if you just simply knew, you'd be like, oh, I see that now. So there's things hidden there. There's things again hidden in plain sight. There's symbolism things. There's Easter eggs. There's all the fun stuff. It gives for a good reread value too. So you're like, okay, I can go look for things now because again, there is stuff there, and there's going to be stuff. I'm a huge fan of it in my own, when I watch things, and Demetrius is too, so that makes it even better. But but it'll also be told in the story as well. But you could figure it out now if you want, if you can, I guess. But
No, that's really cool though, and it's like and I definitely I don't want to go any further into it. If it's something that gets covered
yeah,
in an upcoming story, then I'm more than happy to wait and see the explanation. Like I'm literally in two minds right now. Like I literally want to pull up Google and start looking at stuff, but I also don't want to be spoiled. I kind of want to wait now. I know it's coming, but I'm
yeah,
probably going to Google stuff later just because that's how my brain goes. But but that's absolutely awesome, and I think that's it. Like the zombies, or I keep calling them infected because I feel weird calling them zombies. It's like because it's like they're not really zombies. It's like, but I love the visual style of it. Just something as simple as like the scratches across the eyes and the infection, like almost like driving the person insane to the point of like they're scratching at their own face, and then having that visual representation. Like I think even as it issue 3, I want to say it is issue 3 or 4. Like there's this great point when it's Andy and Miller. They're driving down the street and they get stopped, and there's like this crowd in front of them. And at first you kind of go, oh crap, it's like a bunch of infected. And then like you get a close up shot of them and like you see their faces are fine. And it's immediately it's a thing of like, oh, these are normal people.
yeah, yeah.
It's like, and without even like fully taking it in, it's like, oh, we've already got that visual representation of like, I can tell these aren't infected, these are just regular people that are scared because they don't have the scratches. And then literally a couple of pages later, a bunch charge them that have got the scratches, like, oh crap, that's them. And it's like, but it's such a cool visual. It really is. It's like for those of you watching, like I can't get across without you guys seeing it just how much of a great visual it is, like having your creature, your zombie, you're infected with these scratch marks. Like it's really visually defining for it, and it's like it really makes them stand out.
And obviously, kudos goes to Demetrius there as well, being able to kind of articulate it and illustrate it in that way, and really show the reader. So, and obviously, with the deep scratches, obviously, so like you said, something there's some sort of irritant kind of going on there, and we show that with one of the characters, Miller, as well,
Mm-hmm.
and that was another like sub story kind of throughout these 5 issues here is to watch it progress, and it's not really a spoiler because you could tell from issue 1 that he was
Oh
bitten,
yeah, it gets bitten like at
So,
the end
but
of issue
yeah,
1. It's like, well, you're dead. You're
yeah, so what's happening, but it's still, but you're still invested. You're still like there in that brotherhood between the two, and then watching the transition too is as a writer and just as a fan of the genre, being able to kind of see it and then kind of it's almost like showing you rather than telling you,
There was
and
so much suspense on that bite though,
yeah,
because like I think it's like it gets to the whole of like issue 2 or something
yeah,
that's like in part of issue 3, and the thing's not even bothering him. Like he's got it tied up, and it doesn't seem to be affecting him at all. It doesn't seem to be an issue, and it's like you're just kind of in a suspense watching like when is it going to happen,
yeah, and then
and
yeah,
then it happens, and he goes full freak out when he
yeah,
starts to
yeah.
transform, and it's like it's horrific to watch. Really, it's like to read it. It's like, oh my goodness, what is going on with him? Because he's like
And obviously that
screaming out in agony.
yeah, and the crazy part too, and this is only something I wish that would be on screen because it really I feel like would hit home too, is like that screaming for Andy, and screaming for that stuff too. Again, they're brothers, they have like a brotherhood amongst each other too, and just screaming out loud, confused. Both of them are confused. They don't know what's going on,
Oh,
but
I
here and then that full transition too.
that
But
scene,
yeah,
I felt so bad for Andy. Like, obviously, I've already mentioned it, like that his dad gets killed, and it's like because he literally like when that happens is it when he finds his dad, And then Miller changes, and it's like he's literally looking at his dead dad and then losing like his partner and best friend all in the one like scene. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I felt so hard sorry for him. I'm like, Andy.
And that's again like, and one of the things for readers too to know going forward is, again, mental health is going to be a huge thing of this storyline. So like obviously that's a huge traumatic event for Andy, and not even just to talk about the other characters that dealt with the dad too, but like we showed a little bit of it as well when Andy even shows up to the house, Cliff and Elisa's houses. He buries it. He buries it for the sake of others. He's dying inside. But up, the shell is there. But
Yeah.
again, it's real, just to kind of like, there's going to be a lot of that mental health stuff to be told in this story too, and what the weight of all that stuff kind of taken on them, on different characters as well, but PTSD, depression, all that stuff, anxiety, and
Yeah, it's like I think you
there's a
definitely
lot.
see that already in some of them, and it's like I think that's going to be interesting to see is how they all interact with each other and how that changes. Like you said, Andy like essentially gets to the Cliff and Elise's home and then pushes all this down
Yeah.
because he's got to check on his mom and he wants to be strong for Mason, his youngest, and then immediately he finds out, well, Cliff and Ty have went to the next door neighbor's house because she's a nurse to try and get help. So it's like, okay, he goes back into action mode and like he just moves on.
Yeah.
Poor Mason is like already got freaking like
He's
anxiety and like he's
all of it.
puffing at his inhaler trying to survive, and like he's just watched his dad die and his mum's in bed after the car crash, and then Ty goes next door to look for someone. It's like, are you coming back? And then Andy finally shows up and then he leaves and it's like, are you coming back? And like, this poor kid has been through
It,
so much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's just, and again, this is all in one day, and the
Yeah.
weight of just one day on this whole family and individuals, their individual health as well. It's just chaos. It's madness, and it's setting up for a good kind of story to tell. We've been having a lot of fun with season 2 so far, and finishing that up too. So a lot of good stuff. You obviously got to progress the story, you got to move forward. But there's a lot of chaos still that's going to be volcanoing. Is that proper usage there? It's going to volcano. It's going to blow soon. But however want to say that. But it's fun. There's a lot to be excited for, especially with this issue 6 here. This is probably one of my favorite issues. Uh, Demetrius is the way he's doing the panel layouts too, with the story and the panel layout so far. This is one of my favorite issues so far. Is issue 6.
No, I can believe it. Like the way it's been progressing, like it's definitely been amping up, and even like the amazing work, the amazing story, the amazing artwork, it's been ramping up all the way up to issue 6. So I honestly can't wait to read it. It's like, because now that I'm caught up, I'm like, this is the first one. I'm like, okay, I now need to wait for this one. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll wait.
I know, just like everybody did for 2 years.
I
Everybody
know.
else, huh?
Like I need to wait now. It's like fine, I'll wait. But speaking of issue 6, as we said, it is on Kickstarter now. It is live. You can see the link on the page. I'll also have the link down below so you can just click on it, go straight to the Kickstarter page and check it out. What's the pitch for the Kickstarter for issue 6? What can you tell us? What do you want to tell the people? Like right now, this is your chance. Make them go to the page.
So obviously you've heard a basic kind of deal of what Avalon is over the course of time talking here, but obviously with the issue 6 kind of going up there, you're returning back to the house of Cliff and Elise, and they refuge the Castle family, or what's left of them. This is a zombie apocalypse, so obviously naturally people die. With the winter getting worse, we showcase the winter and the wet Mother Nature kind of stuff as well. This pandemic is expanding. Now they're getting kind of collapsed. Powers kind of trickling, going out. They have to figure out how they're going to save mom and the issue from the car crash, and then a lot of question marks, a lot of chaos still. We're not out of this yet. And it almost feels like they're being trapped again with the weather, the infection, and confusion as well. But you're going to see a lot of character development, and character chaos, characters pushed to their limit, blowing up. Is a lot of cool stuff coming up.
Awesome. And yeah, cannot wait for this issue. And if you're watching and you've not caught up on issues 1 to 5, there are plenty of options on there, I believe, on the Kickstarter for people to do catch-up bundles and get the whole collected issues, whether it's PDFs, whether it's the physical copies, whatever. I believe they're all available on the Kickstarter, if I'm right. And the people can get caught up on Avalon and get caught up on the series.
Yeah, definitely do check it out. Like I said, if you're anywhere near a little bit of a zombie fan, you're going to enjoy Avalon. I truly believe it. There's a lot that is a lot in Avalon. There's a lot of gore. There's a lot of amazing art done by Demetris. Uh, Characters, the interaction amongst all of them are very, are awesome in my opinion. Again, being a zombie fan, and I know it sounds a little bit biased too, but I'm a fan first in this kind of category too. But it's really telling a story that I just love, But so I think it's definitely interesting enough for people who even like it just a little bit to give it a shot.
No, absolutely. And I think that's it. I think if you're a fan of zombie stuff, if you're a fan of that, and even just fan of good storytelling, I think the story's honestly worth, like, for me, the big pull for any sort of story is characters that are worth investing in. And at the very least, Avalon has that, if nothing else. The characters that you meet are worth investing in. The Castle family, the people that they meet, it's worth investing. Like, I am fully invested in their story now. I want to see what happens. I want to see what way it goes. I want to see, like you said, like the mom, the condition she's left at the end of issue 5. It's like, oh, is she going to make it? Is she not? It's like I'm invested. I want to see, does she make it? Because obviously she's not infected. She's just suffering from a car crash. So it's this
Yeah,
whole other thing of like facing medical stuff. Like, can we help someone who's got a serious medical thing to take care of in this? And yeah,
past medical history, it's sparking back up. Now we don't have doctors. Now we don't have medicine, the proper medicine for that matter, I guess. But it just, it leads for the question again for anybody to ask themselves, how would I survive in a zombie apocalypse? People who take medications daily, people who have health issues they have to take care of daily and go kind of get checked up on. It poses that question for everybody who asks themselves that question too. So there's a lot of different angles that we take Avalon, and I'm sure there's one for somebody who likes zombies.
yeah. See, that's something I'm really intrigued at as well, because I've always thought that, because like I'm fairly falling apart and take multiple medications on a daily basis. And I've always kind of wondered, like, well, what happens if the doctors disappear and you're stuck in a zombie apocalypse situation? I'm like, I can't get my medications after like a month. Like, I get them refilled on a monthly basis. Like, so after that month, I'm screwed. So
Yeah,
if a
and
zombie doesn't get me, my health conditions will probably get me. It's like, no,
right,
it's like,
and that
it
and
makes it
that
very
showcases a
more
little bit.
real in a sense of like
Yeah,
that. Hey, this is a real thing people would have to deal with if this actually happened. It's
we showcase that, true medication, obviously with Mason with his inhaler, that's, up there. And another one too is that's kind of might have been missed a little bit when Andy in issue 5, in the first page, he's getting ready for work. This is obviously back before they go into work, but he's getting ready for work. He grabs a vial of medicine, the medication, pills. So it makes you wonder, okay,
oh,
what
I totally missed
so
that. I'll need to go back and
you
check
missed
that.
it, you missed it. Yeah, so it again showcasing some stuff like are they his or well, it posed a lot of questions. So and again, the most obvious question though too is what happens when those pills are gone too.
Yeah.
So a lot of things to kind of look forward to. Like I said, a lot of realness, like you mentioned as well, and we are thrive for that too. We're really trying to be as real as possible. Again, without making the world sound so depressing, there is some light in it as well. There's with the character interactions. When you read these 5 issues, Miller and Andy are a good kind of banter, friendship throughout the series before the inevitable happens, and then there's going to be more like that as well. But yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
that's it.
always depressing.
And that's it. There's a lot of good relationships. There's a lot of good friendships. There's a lot of good moments. And, I think obviously that's something you need in a zombie apocalypse
Yeah,
kind of series as well, as you need the highlight moments like that, because if it's all just depressing, it's like nobody wants to read
it's hard
that.
to read. Yeah,
Just like,
it's a hard read, yeah.
I'm going to sit and just depress myself again with another 20 pages of, futile end of the world.
Well, right, I mean, people gotta deal with real life in real life, so as what I don't want that to be a trigger for somebody to be like, "Oh, this is too real," like, so when we ground ourselves in as much reality as we can in a fiction story too,
Yeah.
so we don't want it to be too real. Obviously, this is something to get away with from the real world. We want people to enjoy it, but again, reality and grounding it in there is part of the deal. But again, with some fictional deals and all that good stuff too. But yeah,
No, absolutely, and I think that's it. It's like obviously comics to a certain extent are escapism.
yeah,
Zombie media in general is escapism because, like you said, it's like it's not real. We're not dealing with zombies. We're never going to deal with zombies. It's not a thing. So like if you get into that genre, like nobody gets into it for the realism. That's not the reason we watch that stuff or read
right.
that stuff. But at the same time, like some of the stuff you've included, though, I think is a really good selling point if I can put it across that way, because that's the thing when it comes to this day and age, like we talked about, like the zombie market is so oversaturated with stuff now. Like there's so many zombie stories out there.
Yeah.
So if you're bringing something zombie to it, it's like you need to be able to say this is what makes ours different.
Yeah, 100%, and that's something that we really took our time in trying to figure out as well. Obviously, there's going to be some similarities, like we discussed earlier. The zombie genre is a zombie genre, but
Hmm.
that was a huge discussion from between Alan and I in the beginning stages of this whole thing, and trying to find ways to separate ourselves from other projects and other zombie media, for that matter, as much as we could. Um, but again, still holding true to some of it too, because we're fans of the zombie genre. We don't want to be anything. We don't want to be too crazy, but we still want to hold some of those values true to the genre and keep it in our story as well, because that's why people like zombies, in my opinion, and that's why I like zombies. But the story overall, it's a fun one. It's a different one, and it's one I've always wanted to see, and decided to just do it. You know what I mean? Get a team together and make this thing happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's it. I think it's a fine line to walk to try and like
Mhm.
you love the genre, you love this, you want to create something that's within that headspace, but at the same time, it's like, how do you make that unique? How do you make it its own thing? And I think you guys have it's definitely the beginning of something that fits that tightrope. And don't get me wrong, you're going to fall to either side of that tightrope every so often because everyone does in storytelling, but I think it's definitely off to a great start for it. And I think you've definitely put together a great team to tell that story. Um,
I really appreciate the compliments there too, and I hope we can kind of keep it going. I believe we can. And I'm a big believer in if we don't have a story to tell, we're gonna find a way to wrap it up. But for the good news is Avalon's gonna be here for years to come. We have a lot of good story arcs that we're very very confident with and very excited for. But once we kind of run short of those and we see an end, we're gonna stick true. Like if there's nothing to really tell more in this story, we feel like we hit the end, then we're going to end it. We're not going to keep something dragging on when it doesn't need to, if we're not excited about it. But we have a lot of arcs coming in the future, and we're really excited about every single one of them so far.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate that as well. It's like that's something that a lot of people don't do, especially here in America. I've noticed, as you can tell, I'm not from here.
Yeah.
I don't know if it gave me away or not.
No, I don't. I
Uh,
couldn't tell.
but like there's a habit of like doing something until it's like basically beating a dead horse just to
Yeah,
try and get money out
it's
of
like
it.
a
And it's
money
like,
grab. Yeah,
but I
and
like
that's
that.
definitely.
I love you saying that you've got like this passion, we've got these story arcs that we want to tell, but when we feel like we're at an ending, like it's a good stopping point, like we want to make sure we wrap it up at a good ending. And I'm like, that's the exact reason I love indie comics is because people tell the story they want to tell and then wrap it up when they're like,
Yeah,
okay, we're done.
one hundred
That's
percent.
that's one of the best things about it, and it's like because I feel like if someone's got that in mind, it means it's a passion project. It's like because on it doesn't mean I'm going to rip the backside out of it and I'm going to just like keep pumping it for money and keep pumping it to try and get what I can out of it. They're like, no, this is a story I love and I'm passionate about, and when I know that it's done, I know it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes just in general. I like creating, period. Obviously at this point, Avalon, is my baby. I've had this idea since, again, 10 years ago at this point. And it's
Yeah.
been it's been a part of me for a long, long time. Even, the comic part of it, we've been working on it since 2018. So but again, so that passion is there for it again with the arc and all that stuff too. But like you kind of were saying too, just kind of reiterating the point. Once we feel this is done, this is done. But we're very, very confident with this story and the arcs that we have ahead of us. And like I said, the reason we were going to do this and in the first place was season 3, and the separation of the whole season 3 arc is really what sparked the interest in doing a zombie story and with these characters rather than doing, but very happy with what we got. Very excited with what we're going to get, and Avalon isn't going to be the only thing I ever work on too. I have other projects that I'm working on behind closed doors. It's really just finding the time and the money, unfortunately, to kind of get these things out there. But we got a lot of other things in the works too, and some of them in the same world. But when I say that, I want to put like a disclaimer out there. It's not going to be told in the same time frame of this world, if that makes sense. I,
Hmm.
I understand that, like, with The Walking Dead, okay, you have 15 different spin-off series that it's just like a redundant deal. No, this is going to be spin-off series in the same world, but told at a different time frame before the apocalypse. And so, without spoiling much, that's what I can give. But it's very interesting and it's very cool. It's very, yeah, again, unique in my opinion and what we're kind of doing there, and we're very excited about that as well. But that's a future thing, it's a future deal, and we're
Okay,
excited for all that.
that's really cool because that was something else I was going to slip in as a question near the end. I was going to say that it's like because you've got 1285 productions, and I'm like, is there anything else on in the works apart from Avalon? Because like you've got this production company, are you doing anything else with it? So there we go. We know to keep our
Yeah,
eyes
with
on it.
yeah, definitely other comics. Not to say that music and short films, movies, and all that stuff won't be a part of it as well. We're working on me and another person are working on a show series, a mini series. And I'm working on a short story or short film, sorry, as well with Bill Dalton, which is helping me write season 2. Didn't talk much about Bill, but yeah, he's helping me write that with Avalon season 2 too. So a bunch of cool things, a bunch of fun things that we're going to be working on and trying to expand our media as well. And once we are, then you're going to see a little bit more of 1282 rather than just Avalon. We just wanted to get Avalon up there with 1282 and kind of promote together. But once we have another project, is when you'll see a little bit more in the 1282 realm.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And let's take a chance to talk about Bill briefly then as well, because going on at the Avalon website and stuff, which again I'll link that down below for anyone that wants to go and check it out. Um, you've got a very small team. It's basically the team that was working on Avalon, and for the whole first season, you've got like yourself and Alan, you got Demetrius, and then you've got your editor, and it's like, and that's basically it. And then there's like this other co-writer who isn't in the first season. So how did the work with Bill come around? How did he come on for season 2? How did that come
Yeah.
around, and how does he play into it? And
Yeah, so it's funny because when we were first thinking about, the idea, with season 1, Alan's role was only to kind of be a part of Avalon for season 1 anyways. And he was going to take not he was just going to kind of fall back into the 1282 realm with things and kind of start working on other things inside of the 1282 realm, which is where he's at now. Now with Avalon, so with that being said, so it was flirted with a little bit, that obviously I would be there the whole time, this being, my baby and, the project and all that stuff too. We're throwing around the idea of maybe possibly having an additional a new co-writer every single season to almost have like you'll have the initial story and the initial feel to it because I'm still there, but having an outsider come in and go, okay, I see what you got. Now let's add like a new feel to a new season. So that was something that was kind of jumbled around a little bit. I don't know if we're gonna go that route because I mean, we have, I guess, from season 1 to 2 that does. So I guess we are for a little bit, but Bill is going to be here as long as he wants to be here. So it's not going to be something that's planned. So if Bill just simply wants to do the second season and be like, okay, I'm happy with what I did. I gave all I can give, whatever, and then maybe we do go that route. But Bill's having an awesome time. I've known Bill for quite some time. I worked with him as well, and he's a creator himself. He loves the entertainment industry, and it was actually this last year is when I asked him. I said, "Hey, do you want to?" Because he's known about Avalon. We've talked about Avalon. We've talked about creating things, And I asked him, I said, "Hey, do you want to write season 2 with me?" And he said, and he was completely on board, which was awesome. And the dynamic has been great because again, with Alan and Bill, same kind of deal. We were friends first before we started working on the project, so the chemistry amongst each other was very easy. It just felt easy writing it. And yeah, I mean, I've been having a blast kind of doing it with him with season 2. And like I said, he can be here for season 3 if he wants. If not, I completely understand. It's long. It's a long process, but yeah, that's basically the gist of that.
No, that's awesome. Because he was something I was going to ask about because I'd noticed it when I went to the website and I seen like there was another co-writer and I'm like, oh, there's a third co-writer on stuff. And then I went through the PDFs and I'm like, his name's not on any of them. And I'm like, okay, how does he factor in? But that's really interesting of bringing Bill in for like season 2. And it'll be interesting now comparing like when season 2 finally comes out compared to season 1. Like, obviously it'll probably have a different feel and a tone to it in general being a brand new
Yeah,
season, but like to
yeah.
see like, well, what happened, how does it feel different with Alan not really being involved with it and Bill now stepping into that role? How does that affect things? How does that change things? A new storyteller. It's like, and that makes it really intriguing.
Yeah, no, that's and I think that was one of the things because my aunt is a big. She went to film school and bounce ideas off of her just to banter. We talk all the time, and she was telling me too, like, and obviously this goes without say, but really articulating a little bit more and kind of our own conversation. But she was just kind of mentioning like, make each season kind of have a different feel, like have a something that's a little bit different, so people can kind of like you have the same general story but like have like a different touch to it. And we're like talking about those things, and we came up with some ideas, and that was one of the ones that when I brought it to Alan, what she was saying though too is that was kind of what we were talking about because again, his role was to kind of just help uplift Avalon and get it out there and do the whole Kickstarter thing, do the whole production thing and publishing thing, and help each other out and kind of get it out there, and then kind of take a step back and do the 1282 stuff. But and then that's when we kind of threw that idea out there too. But yeah, obviously, like I said, we're here. We're gonna roll with Bill for until he wants to. And like you said, it is kind of like a cool deal. And seeing the again, obviously there's the similarities. There's differences in the season in general because it's a different season. But having that different writer and having that kind of difference in the story and maybe there's different things that he likes to hit on rather than Alan. But like I said, like that general story and all that feel is still going to be there because I'm there.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
And I think that's it, though. I think that'll play to the benefit of it, though, having a different feel to season 2, someone else having a bit of an input as well on it, and I think that'll add to it because, especially with a story like this, and you don't want it to be the same going into the next season. It's like because one thing you want to see is progression. You want to see the
yes,
development of
yeah,
these characters. You want to see how they grow.
yes,
It's like I don't want to see them stuck cowering from the infected and the zombies, like in what do we do? Oh, I don't know what to do. You want to see them starting to like, okay, this is the world we live in. How do we survive? How do we become
yes,
competent in this world? And because otherwise it'll be a very short series. But like,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%. And obviously, when you look at a new season in general, you want to hit different points, different arc. It's obviously a different arc. You want to hit different points uh, for the story overall, different points for each character, and like sub points, subplots, and all that too. So it's just like again, you obviously these characters are going to be the same. They're not going to be dramatically different because we're telling the story in a almost in a day to day fashion at this point. Like you said, like the first 5 issues is one day and moving into the next day. But uh, spoiler alert, there will be a couple day kind of jump there too. So it won't be day one anymore. So you'll see a little bit there. Um, but yeah, there's definitely some cool things and some articulating on some different points and answering some questions that we're asking now towards the end of this season too. But um, I'm excited for season 2 so far. Almost wrapping season 2 up with the writing of it and the first half of the season. I'm really excited about issue 7. I'm pretty excited about too. character wise, like watching some of the development, watching some of the changes, and since they have somewhat, I guess I don't want to talk about it too much. I'm giving stuff away. I'm giving stuff away.
Dang. Hope we could slide in there, I
You're you're
guess.
just, you're just gonna kill me.
I'm just going to sit and let you give as much as you want to give. Like, if you want to give stuff on season 2, I'm just going to sit back and let you do that. I'm quite happy. But no, I think it sounds awesome. I'm really excited for it. And now, of course, we've got that intrigue not only for season 2, but the intrigue for season 3. The fact you're pitching that is like, that was like the original idea that really started you. Like, hey, I want to make a zombie story, and wanting to get to that. Obviously, that's many years down the line, probably at this point, because we're so, we're just finishing up season 1 right now.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming there's many more Kickstarters to go before we get to that one.
Yeah.
But I hope we get to see it, and I hope it gets to keep rolling through, and we get to see a lot more. But no, I've been thoroughly enjoying this, because I was very apprehensive first coming into Avalon, because as a company, we've tested out like Kickstarter comics and indie comics before that we don't know the creators of, and you never know what you're getting. It's a complete mixed bag. You can get something absolutely stunning. Like one of the first big Kickstarters we ever backed, I won't name it or anything like that, but I remember we talk about it all the time, was like we got like sold on this thing. We thought it looked amazing, and the stuff that was on the Kickstarter, and thought this is phenomenal. Went and bought like deluxe covers and stuff like that, and got the book, and it was absolute trash. It was absolutely it was absolutely not worth the money it was paid for. And then even as well, like I said, like you pick up other like indie comics and from self-publishers, and like you pick it up, and you read the issue, and it's like the artwork is just absolutely not great. Like I've read number ones, and I'm like, oh, why are people paying this much money for this? It's not worth that. It's really not. So I've been delightfully surprised by Avalon to read a story, an engaging story, a story that's drawn me into the world. Like, I want to read issue 6. I want to see season 2 and see what happens. And like I said, the artwork was good in the first issue, but the progression that Demetrius makes from that first issue onward is like, it's night and day.
Himself,
Not to say that the artwork's bad in the beginning, but to say that's how much better it got. Like, it's a legitimate strong change, and it's like it's worth checking out. It's like, I think it's worthwhile reading. We're definitely fans of it.
I appreciate that. Again, like it obviously a lot of hard work and dedication and passion is put into this. And one of the things that we really harp on too with meeting people at events, talking with people as well, is let us know what you think about it too. We myself, speaking for myself, I like to be a sponge. I like to kind of take in all information and kind of grow, be a better person, be a better writer, be, just a better, just in every category I can. And especially with Avalon too, I want Avalon to be the best it can be, and that's why when we have Rachel as the editor, we have a co-writer constantly. We have, Demetrius, he has a lot of insight and how the story's illustrated for that matter too. It's just like I want it to be as good as it can. I want everybody to have a say in it and their opinion in it too. And I want a good story. Again, being a fan of the genre, being a fan of this kind of story that we're telling as well. Again, that's the reason we're making it anyways. It's just this is the way I would like to see this zombie story be told. I just want it to be the best it can be, and that's very important to me. I know it's very important for everybody else on the team as well. But it's awesome to hear obviously the kind words that you're saying as well. And it we appreciate that.
No, absolutely, and that's it. I want to make it clear to everyone as well. Like, yes, Brandon sent us like a chance to look at issues 1 to 5 before this dropping on Kickstarter. This is not paid promotion. This isn't anything like that. This is literally my opinion on the book. I thoroughly did enjoy Avalon and stuff like that. It's 100% worth checking out. If you're a fan of zombie stuff, then it's definitely got our approval to go and check it out. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy the story. Personally, I did. And that's just my take. If that means anything to you, fantastic. But like, yeah, I want to make that like, I don't, y'all, if you've been in this channel for long enough, you know I don't bring people in here to just blow smoke up their ass. I don't do that. It's like that's not my style at all. Like if I'm not a fan of something, I'll say it. But yeah, I was a fan of this. I was a fan of Avalon, and I'm definitely excited for issue 6 to see how this first season ends.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
All right, but I think that's a good place for us to kind of wrap up for today. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Brandon? Anything else you wanted to put out there? Anything else you wanted to pitch, promote, anything like that?
Just basically the Kickstarter. You know, obviously we have until October 6th, I think, is the last day that this is going to be up and live. We're rolling on finishing some stretch goals that we have up there. We already funded, so anybody who backs at this point is definitely getting a product, whatever you get.
Yep.
Um,
Always a good
with
thing.
that being, yeah. So that's always a positive deal there. With that being said, though, too, you know, thanks to everybody who's pledged now. You know, like I said earlier, thanks to everybody who's pledged in the past, and thanks for everybody pledging in the future too. You know, everybody who does pledge helps us fulfill our dream, helps us get this out there as soon as possible. Like I said earlier in the show, Avalon's always going to be out there, but everybody else dictates the speed of it. So just thank you, everybody who's, you know, listening or gives it a shot as well, and please let us know what you think as well.
Absolutely. And where can people find you online if they want to go and check you out? The website, social media, stuff like that.
Yeah, so we have a website, avaloncomic.com. We're on all social media platforms. If you find us in one spot, you're going to find us in all of them. We have a link tree tag to nearly all of the social media platforms that allow us to. But mainly our website, you'll be able to find our main social media platforms as well. They're on our website, but Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, you know, website, all that good stuff. So you'll find us. Just look up Avalon Comic, and you'll be able to find us.
Awesome. And I'll try and remember to put all those links down below as well so that you guys can get them a lot easier along with the Kickstarter and everything else, just for easiness for that. But again, thank you so much for coming on, Brandon. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you and to kind of get a little bit of insight into Avalon. And hopefully whenever season 2 begins, we'll get to bring you back on and talk about the new season kicking off as well.
Awesome. I appreciate the time, and you know, I look forward to that too. If you know, have me, I'd love to come back. You know, I had a wonderful time on this show.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For everyone watching, thank you so much for hanging out with us and spending some time. Remember, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future content with us, and go ahead and hit that like button just to show us some support. But as for now, it's a good week to be a geek. Take care, have a good day, and we'll see you all later. Peace.